She came to South Carolina to escape love, to heal from 12 years of betrayal, to forget what it felt like to trust someone with her whole heart. But love found her anyway, on a plane, in the form of a 5-year-old girl with light-up shoes and a smile that could break through any wall, and her father, a Korean man whose quiet intensity made Afioma forget why she'd sworn off relationships in the first place. For 2 weeks, she let herself believe in something beautiful. She became the person a lonely little girl called for in the night. She became the woman who made a powerful man smile like he'd forgotten how. And then that little girl, sleeping peacefully after a nightmare, whispered the word that changed everything. Amma. Mother. Now Afioma has only 5 days left before Jae-sung returns to Korea. 5 days to figure out if temporary can become forever. 5 days to decide if she's brave enough to risk her heart again. But someone from her past just booked a flight to South Carolina, and he's not coming to let her go. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, if you haven't watched part 1 and 2, stop right now and go back. This won't make any sense without it. But if you're caught up and ready for the drama, drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. We love hearing from you. The morning after Joojin called her Uma in her sleep, Afioma woke up with a knot in her stomach that wouldn't go away. She'd barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard that small, sleepy voice. Good night, Uma. Every time she started to drift off, she remembered the look on Jae-sung's face in the hallway. The raw hope, the desperate longing. Don't leave, he'd said. Come back to Korea with us. And God help her, she'd wanted to say yes. Wanted it so badly her chest ached. But wanting something and being brave enough to reach for it were two completely different things. She got dressed slowly, trying to figure out what she was supposed to say to him this morning. How did you face a man who just offered you everything when you were too terrified to take it? The knock on her door came right on schedule. Ifeoma, are you awake? It's breakfast time. Joojin's voice, bright and happy, completely unaware of the earthquake happening inside Afeoma's chest. She opened the door and forced a smile. Good morning, sweetheart. Joojin grabbed her hand like always, chattering about a dream she'd had about purple butterflies, completely oblivious to the tension crackling through the house. But when they got downstairs, Jae-sung was already gone. Appa had an early meeting, one of the staff members explained. He said he'd be back this afternoon. Ifeoma told herself the disappointment she felt was ridiculous, told herself it was better this way, gave them both space to think. She spent the morning with Joojin like normal, pancakes shaped like stars, coloring at the kitchen table, a walk in the garden where Joojin picked flowers and made up. Stories about fairies, but something was off. Ifeoma could feel it. She was going through the motions, smiling and laughing in all the right places, but her heart wasn't in it, and Joojin, perceptive as always, noticed. Ifeoma? Are you mad at me? Ifeoma's heart dropped. What? No, baby, why would you think that? Joojin shrugged, not meeting her eyes. You seem sad, and you keep looking at your phone, and you didn't laugh at my fairy joke, and it was a really good joke. Ifeoma knelt down so they were eye to eye. I'm not mad at you, not even a little bit, I promise. Then what's wrong? How do you explain adult fears to a 5-year-old? How do you tell a child that you were terrified of loving her too much because loving people always ended in pain? I'm just thinking about some grown-up things, Ifeoma said carefully. But it has nothing to do with you, okay? You're perfect. Joojin studied her face for a long moment, then threw her arms around Ifeoma's neck and held on tight. I love you, Ifeoma. The words hit like a physical blow. I love you too, sweetheart, Ifeoma whispered, and meant it with every broken piece of her heart. Jae-sung came home late that afternoon, and the tension between them was thick enough to cut with a knife. He was polite, distant, asked Joojin about her day, listened to her stories, helped her with her coloring, which in a way is an habit for her. But he barely looked at Ifeoma, and she couldn't blame him. She'd left him hanging in that hallway, with his heart wide open and no answer. That night, after Joojin was tucked into bed, Ifeoma heard his footsteps pause outside her door. She held her breath, waiting. but he didn't knock. After a long moment, she heard him walk away. The relief and disappointment that washed over her in equal measure told her everything she needed to know about how deep she'd already fallen. The next morning, her phone rang while she was making breakfast. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello, Ify. Her entire body went cold. Chidi. How did you get this number? Her voice came out harder than she'd intended. Your friend Ella gave it to me. She said you were in America, South Carolina. He paused. Ify, please don't hang up. I just need 5 minutes. She should hang up. She should block his number and delete it and pretend this call never happened. Instead, she walked out to the garden where Jujin couldn't hear. You have 2 minutes. Talk. I made a mistake. His voice was thick with emotion. The biggest mistake of my life. Adiz means nothing to me. She never did. It was stupid and selfish, and I hate myself for hurting you. Ifeoma closed her eyes. You had 2 years to tell me the truth, Chidi. 2 years. I know, and I'm sorry. God, Ify, I'm so sorry. He was crying now. She could hear it in his voice. 12 years we've been together. 12 years. We can't throw that away over one mistake. Please, come home. Let me make this right. Let me prove to you that I can be the man you deserve. Something in her chest twisted painfully. 12 years. More than a third of her life. All those memories, good and bad, tangled up together. I don't know if I can forgive you, she whispered. Then let me earn it. However long it takes, I'll wait. I'll do whatever you need. He took a shaky breath. I'm booking a flight to South Carolina. Tomorrow. Let me see you. Let me look you in the eyes and show you I mean this. Chidi. Please, Ify, just give me a chance to fight for you. That's all I'm asking. She thought about Jae-sung, about the impossible logistics of loving a man who lived on the other side of the world, about Jujin, who would go back to Korea and eventually forget her. She thought about Chidi, familiar, safe, 12 years of history. Half bread is better than none. That's what her mother always said. Where are you staying? She heard herself ask. I'll text you the hotel. Tomorrow at 2. Please, Ify, please come. She hung up without answering, but when the text came through an hour later with the hotel address, she didn't delete it. The next day, Ifeoma told herself she was just going to tell Chidi no in person. That's all. A clean break. Closure. She didn't tell Jae-sung where she was going. Didn't tell Jujin. Just said she had some errands to run and would be back in a few hours. The cafe where she met Chidi was small and quiet, tucked away from the main tourist areas. He was already there when she arrived, sitting at a corner table, looking smaller somehow than she remembered. Tired. Broken. He stood when he saw her, and for a moment they just stared at each other. Ify, his voice cracked. Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would. She sat down across from him, keeping the table between them like a barrier. You said you wanted to talk, so talk. And he did. He told her everything. How it started with Adaz. How he'd tried to end it multiple times but kept falling back. How he'd convinced himself he could have both. How seeing Ifeoma's face that day in his apartment had destroyed him. I haven't been able to sleep since you left, he said, reaching across the table. She pulled her hands back. I wake up every morning, and the first thing I think is that I lost you. The best thing that ever happened to me, and I threw it away for nothing. She wasn't nothing to you, Ifeoma said quietly. Not if you kept going back to her. She was a distraction, an escape. You were real. You were my future. You still are, if you'll let me prove it to you. He pulled out a small box. Ifeoma's heart stopped. I bought this 2 years ago, Chidi said, opening it to reveal a ring. Simple, elegant, exactly what she would have chosen. I was going to propose on your birthday, but I got scared. Scared of commitment, scared of forever, scared of losing my freedom. So I kept putting it off and made the stupidest decisions of my life instead. The ring sparkled in the cafe lighting. Marry me, Ify. Come home. Let me spend the rest of my life making this up to you. I'll do whatever it takes. Counseling, therapy, whatever you need. Just please don't give up on us. Not after 12 years. Not when we were so close to forever. Ifeoma stared at the ring and felt absolutely nothing. That should have told her everything she needed to know. But instead, she heard herself say, I need time to think about this. Relief flooded Chidi's face. Take all the time you need. I'm staying in South Carolina as long as it takes. I'm not giving up on us, Ify, not without a fight. They talked for another hour. He told her about home, about their friends, about the future he'd imagined for them. A wedding at her church, children, growing old together, all the things she'd wanted for 12 years, all the things that felt like they belonged to a different version of herself now. When she finally left the cafe, her head was spinning. She pulled out her phone to call an Uber and saw 25 missed calls, 18 from Jae-sung, 7 from Joo-jin's iPad. Her stomach dropped. She got back to the house just after 7. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the perfectly manicured lawn. Jae-sung was waiting in the living room. He stood up when she walked in, and the look on his face made her breath catch. Cold, controlled, dangerous. Where were you? His voice was quiet, too quiet. I had some things to take care of. For 6 hours? Without telling anyone where you were going? I'm not a child, Jae-sung. I don't need permission to leave the house. My daughter cried for 3 hours thinking you'd left without saying goodbye. His jaw was so tight she could see the muscle jumping. So yes, actually, when you're living under my roof and taking care of my child, I think I deserve to know when you're going to disappear for half a day. Guilt twisted in her stomach. I'm sorry. I didn't think. Who was he? Ifeoma froze. What? Jae-sung took a step closer, and she could see the carefully controlled fury in his eyes. The man you met at the cafe on 3rd Street, Nigerian, about 6 feet tall. You talked for 2 hours. My security team is very thorough. Of course he'd had her followed. Of course. That's none of your business, she said, even though she knew it was a lie. It's my business when you disappear without a word and my daughter falls apart. Another step closer. It's my business when you come back looking like your world just got turned upside down. So I'll ask you one more time. Who was he? My ex. The words came out sharper than she'd intended. He came to apologize. The silence that followed was deafening. I see. Jae-sung's expression went completely blank. And? And what? And did you accept his apology? Ifeoma's hands were shaking. I told him I needed time to think. Think about what, exactly? About whether I want to give him another chance. She watched something crack in Jae-sung's carefully controlled facade. Just for a second. Just long enough for her to see the pain underneath. Then, the ice came back. You're thinking about going back to him. It wasn't a question. I don't know what I'm doing. The words burst out of her before she could stop them. You're leaving in 4 days, Jae-sung. 4 days, and then you go back to Korea, and I go back to Nigeria, and this all ends anyway. So what does it matter? What does it matter? His voice was so low it was almost a whisper. Is that really what you think this is? Some temporary arrangement that doesn't matter? What else could it be? You live on the other side of the world. I have a life in Nigeria. This was never going to work long term, and we both know it. My daughter called you mother. Jae-sung crossed the room in 2 strides, stopping so close she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. She has never, in her entire life, felt safe enough with anyone to use that word. Do you understand what that means? Do you understand what you've become to her? Tears were burning behind Ifeoma's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. And in a few weeks, she'll have a new nanny and she'll forget I ever existed. She won't forget you. I won't let her forget you. We can't. Then what are you suggesting? That I uproot my entire life, move to Korea, give up everything for a man I've known for 2 weeks? I'm suggesting that maybe, just maybe, what we have is worth fighting for. His control finally snapped. I'm suggesting that I haven't felt this alive, this whole, this hopeful in years. that watching you with my daughter made me believe in things I thought I'd lost the right to hope for. That somewhere between that airplane and right now, you became essential to me in a way I can't explain and don't want to fight anymore. Ifeoma's breath caught. Jae-sung. But if you want to go back to a man who lied to you for 2 years, who chose someone else while you were planning your future together, who only came crawling back when he realized what he'd lost. His voice went cold again. Then go. I won't stop you. I don't chase people who don't want to be caught. He stepped back, and the distance between them felt like miles. But don't pretend you're doing this because it's the logical choice. Don't pretend it's about geography or timing or any of the other excuses you're making. You're doing this because you're terrified. Because Chidi is safe and familiar and I'm the unknown. Because betting on us means risking your heart and you're not sure we're worth it. That's not fair, isn't it? His eyes bored into hers. I laid myself bare for you 2 nights ago. Told you I wanted you to stay. Told you we could figure it out together, and you've been avoiding me ever since. Because it's insane. We barely know each other. I know that you sing to my daughter when you think no one's listening. I know you put vanilla in her milk because plain milk tastes boring. I know that you hum when you're happy. I know that you make me want to be a softer father, which I am trying to be. Someone worthy of the way you look at me when you think I'm not watching. His voice dropped. And I know that you're falling in love with us just as hard as we're falling for you. The only difference is I'm brave enough to admit it. The tears fell then. She couldn't stop them. I'm scared, she whispered. I know. So am I. His expression softened just slightly. But I would rather be scared with you than safe without you. Can you say the same? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Jae-sung waited. 5 seconds. 10. 20. Then he nodded once, like she'd just confirmed something he'd already known. I thought so. He turned toward the stairs. You should pack your things. I'll have my driver take you wherever you need to go tomorrow. Wait. He paused but didn't turn around. I didn't say I was leaving. You didn't have to. His voice was empty. You already made your choice the moment you went to meet him without telling me. I just didn't want to see it. He walked upstairs and didn't look back. Ifeoma stood alone in the living room, tears streaming down her face, and wondered how everything had fallen apart so fast. Comment, no, if you're mad at Ifeoma right now, is she making the biggest mistake of her life? Keep watching because this is about to get worse. The next morning, Ifeoma packed her bag with shaking hands. She'd barely slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Jae-sung's face, heard his words. I don't chase people who don't want to be caught. She'd tried to see Joo-jin that morning, but the little girl wouldn't even look at her. Ifeoma had knocked on her door gently. Sweetheart, can we talk? Silence. Joo-jin, please. I just want to explain. Go away. The small voice was thick with tears. You promised you'd stay. You pinky promised. I know, baby, but sometimes grown-ups have to. You lied. Joo-jin's door flew open. Her little face was red and blotchy from crying. You said you'd stay for 3 whole weeks, and it's only been 2. You're just like everyone else. You're just like my real mom. You don't want me either. That's not true, Joo-jin. I care about you so much. If you cared about me, you wouldn't leave. Tears were streaming down her face now. Everyone always leaves. I thought you were different, but you're not. I hate you. The words hit like a slap. Joo-jin slammed the door so hard the pictures on the wall rattled. Ifeoma stood in the hallway, heart shattered into a million pieces, and heard the little girl sobbing on the other side of the door. She tried the handle, but it was locked. Joo-jin, leave me alone. Ifeoma pressed her forehead against the door, tears streaming down her own face. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. But the only answer was more crying. She felt a presence behind her and turned to find Jae-sung standing at the top of the stairs. His face was carved from stone. I think you've done enough damage for one day, he said quietly. Please go. Jae-sung, I didn't want to hurt her. But you did. You made her promises you couldn't keep. You let her call you mother. You let her believe you'd stay. And now you're walking away just like everyone else in her life. His eyes were cold. So please, just go. Don't make this harder than it already is. Ifeoma wanted to argue, wanted to explain, wanted to fix this somehow. But what could she say that would make any of this better? She grabbed her bag and walked downstairs on legs that felt like they might give out any second. Chidi was waiting outside in a rental car. She got in without looking back at the house. But as they pulled away, she turned around one last time. Jae-sung was standing in the upstairs window, watching her leave. Even from this distance, she could see his face. Completely expressionless, completely controlled, completely broken. The car turned the corner and he disappeared from view. The hotel room Chidi had booked was nice. Too nice, like he was trying too hard to impress her. He ordered room service, opened a bottle of wine, talked about their future with such certainty that it made her head spin. "We'll get married in December," he was saying, scrolling through wedding venues on his phone. "Your favorite month, right? And we can honeymoon in Dubai like you always wanted. Start fresh. Build the life we should have had all along." Ifeoma sat on the couch and nodded in all the right places, but she wasn't really listening. All she could hear was Jujin crying, "You're just like my real mom. You don't want me either." All she could see was Jae-sung's face. "I don't chase people who don't want to be caught." "Ify, are you listening?" She blinked. "What?" Chidi frowned. "I asked if you wanted a traditional wedding or something more modern. I don't know. I need some air." She walked out onto the balcony before he could respond. The sun was setting over South Carolina, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Somewhere out there, a little girl was crying herself to sleep. Somewhere out there, a man was trying to figure out how to explain to his daughter that another person she loved had walked away. Ifeoma pulled out her phone with shaking hands. 47 missed calls from an iPad, Jujin's iPad, 23 voice messages. She'd been too much of a coward to listen to them earlier. Now, standing alone on this balcony while Chidi planned a future she wasn't sure she wanted anymore, she pressed play. The first message almost destroyed her. "Ifeoma?" Jujin's voice small and scared and thick with tears. "Please come back. I'm sorry I said I hated you. I didn't mean it. I was just sad. Please don't leave me. I'll be good. I promise I'll be so good if you just come back." Sobbing. The sound of a child whose heart was breaking. "Please, Ifeoma. I'm sorry if I did something wrong. I'm sorry if I asked too many questions or if I was annoying. I'll be better. I'll eat all my vegetables. I'll go to bed on time. I won't complain about strawberry yogurt ever again. Just please, please don't leave me like Amma did. Please." More crying. And then, so quietly, Ifeoma almost missed it. "I love you. I love you so much. Please come home." The message ended. Ifeoma's hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the phone. She played the next one. Jae-sung's voice this time, rough, broken. "Ifeoma, Jujin won't eat, won't sleep. She just sits by the window watching for your car. I've tried everything. Nothing works." A long pause. "I don't know how to help her. I don't know how to explain that you're not coming back." Another pause. When he spoke again, his voice was barely a whisper. "I thought I could let you go. I thought I could accept your choice and move on. But I can't. We can't. You became part of us, Ifeoma. Part of our family. And now there's this hole where you used to be and I don't know how to fill it." She heard him take a shaky breath. "If you ever felt anything for us, if any of this was real for you, please come back. I know it's complicated. I know that all of these seem impossible, but we'll figure it out. Together. Just please don't throw this away because you're afraid." A long silence. Then, "I love you. I know you may think that I am being selfish or I am doing this for my daughter. I think I've loved you since that plane when I watched you treat my daughter like she was precious. And I know it's too soon and too crazy, but I don't care. I love you. And if there's any part of you that loves us back, please, come home." The message ended. Ifeoma played the next one, and the next, and the next. Messages from a little girl begging her to come back. Messages from a man who'd finally let his walls down and was paying the price. The last message had been sent just 10 minutes ago. Jae-sung's voice, defeated, empty. We're flying back to Korea tomorrow morning. First flight out. I can't stay in this house anymore. Everything reminds me of you. The garden where you picked flowers with Jujin, the kitchen where you made pancakes, the living room where we built pillow forts. His voice cracked. I see you everywhere and it's killing me. A pause. I'm sorry I wasn't enough. I'm sorry I couldn't give you whatever it was you needed to stay. I hope Chidi makes you happy. I hope you get everything you deserve. And I hope someday you'll forgive me for falling in love with you when I had no right to. Another pause. Longer this time. Goodbye, Afeoma. Thank you for giving my daughter 2 weeks of happiness. Thank you for making me believe in second chances. Even if it didn't work out, thank you. The message ended. Afeoma stood on that balcony, tears streaming down her face, and finally let herself feel everything she'd been running from. The truth she'd been too scared to admit. She loved them. She loved Jujin's laugh and her endless questions, and the way she colored skies purple instead of blue. She loved Jae-sung's rare smiles and his fierce protectiveness, and the way he looked at her like she is all he's got. She loved the life they'd built in 2 short weeks, the breakfast routines and the bedtime stories and the quiet moments over tea. She loved them completely, terrifyingly, irrevocably, and she'd thrown it all away because she was a coward. She looked back through the glass doors at Chidi. He was on his phone now, probably checking his social media, completely comfortable in the assumption that she was his again. 12 years together, 12 years of history and familiarity and safety. But when she looked at him, she felt nothing. No butterflies, no longing, no sense of coming home, just emptiness. And when she thought about Jae-sung and Jujin, her chest felt like it might explode. That was when she finally understood. She'd been so busy chasing the safe choice that she'd missed the real one. Chidi wasn't safe. He was settling. He was choosing the devil she knew over the heaven she could have. Half-bread wasn't better than none, not when she knew what whole bread tasted like now. Ifeoma walked back inside, and Chidi looked up with a smile. There you are. I was starting to think you'd... I can't do this. His smile faded. What? I can't marry you, Chidi. I can't come back to Abuja and pretend the last 2 weeks didn't happen. I can't settle for someone who lied to me for 2 years when I know what real love feels like now. He stood up, confusion and anger warring on his face. Are you serious? I flew all the way here. I'm offering you everything you've ever wanted. You're offering me what I wanted 12 years ago, Ifeoma corrected. But I'm not that person anymore. That person died the day I found a dais in your kitchen. And the person I am now, she deserves better than half of someone's heart. So what? You're choosing them? People you've known for 2 weeks over 12 years with me? I'm choosing myself, Ifeoma said firmly. I'm choosing the version of me who laughs more, who feels more alive, who isn't afraid to take a risk on something real, even if it's scary, even if it's complicated, even if it might break my heart. She grabbed her bag. Where are you going? To fix the biggest mistake of my life. She paused at the door. I forgive you, Chidi. I really do. But I don't love you anymore, and that's okay. We both deserve to be with people who make us feel alive. I hope you find that someday. Ifeoma, wait. But she was already gone. The Uber driver looked at her like she was crazy when she gave him the address. That's all the way across town, ma'am. In traffic, it'll take at least 40 minutes. I'll pay you double. Please, it's an emergency. He must have heard the desperation in her voice because he nodded and pulled out into traffic. Ifeoma called Jae-sung's number. Voicemail. She tried again. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. She sent a text with shaking hands. Ifeoma, please pick up. I need to talk to you. Please. Nothing. She tried calling again. This time a text came back. Jae-sung. Our flight leaves in 2 hours. Greenville Spartanburg Airport. Gate B7. Don't come. It'll only hurt more. Ifeoma's heart stopped. 2 hours. She looked at the traffic crawling ahead of them. Looked at the time. If they went to the house first, she'd never make it to the airport in time. Change of plans, she said to the driver. Greenville Spartanburg Airport, and I'll pay you triple if you can get me there in under an hour. The driver grinned. Hold on tight, ma'am. The airport was chaos. Ifeoma ran through the automatic doors, her bag banging against her hip, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might burst. Gate B7. Where was Gate B7? She found a departures board, squinted at the tiny letters. There. Seoul, South Korea. Boarding in 20 minutes, Gate B7. She ran. Past security, waving her passport like it was a weapon. Past the TSA agents who yelled at her to slow down. Past families and business people and travelers who stared at this wild woman sprinting through the terminal like her life depended on it. Because it did. Her whole life. Her whole future. Everything that mattered. She rounded the corner to Gate B7 and skidded to a stop. There. Jae-sung was standing in the boarding line, Joo-jin's small hand in his. The little girl looked tiny, sad. Her shoulders slumped in a way that made Ifeoma's heart break. Jae-sung looked worse, like a man who'd given up on everything. They were third in line to board. Ifeoma's throat closed up. She opened her mouth and screamed with everything she had. Joo-jin! Every head in the terminal turned, but only one mattered. Joo-jin's head snapped up so fast Ifeoma worried about her neck. For one frozen second, they just stared at each other across the crowded gate area. Then, Joo-jin's face transformed. Pure joy, pure relief, pure love. Ifeoma, the little girl, ripped her hand from her father's and ran. Full sprint, sneakers flashing with every step. They collided in the middle of the terminal. Ifeoma dropped to her knees and caught Joo-jin in her arms, holding her so tight she was probably crushing her, but she couldn't let go, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but hold this precious child who'd stolen her entire heart. You came back, Joo-jin sobbed into her shoulder. You came back. You came back. You came back. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. I was scared and stupid, and I almost made the worst mistake of my entire life. I thought you were gone forever. I thought you didn't want me. I want you. I want you so much. Ifeoma pulled back just enough to look at Joo-jin's tear-stained face. I love you. Do you understand me? I love you more than I've ever loved anything, and I'm not going anywhere, not ever again. Promise? I promise. No more running, no more being scared. I choose you, sweetheart. I choose you and your appa and this beautiful, crazy, impossible family we've made. Joo-jin threw her arms around Ifeoma's neck and held on like she'd never let go. When Ifeoma finally looked up, Jae-sung was standing 5 feet away. He looked like he'd been hit by lightning, like he couldn't believe what he was seeing, like he was afraid if he moved, she'd disappear. Ifeoma stood slowly, Joo-jin still wrapped around her like a koala bear. Hi, she said, and her voice shook. You're here. His voice was rough, disbelieving. I'm here. You chose him. You left. I was wrong. Tears were streaming down her face, but she didn't care. Half the airport was watching, but she didn't care about that either. I was so wrong, Jae-sung. I chose fear over love. I chose safety over happiness. I chose the past over the future, and I almost lost everything that matters because of it. He took one step closer. Just one. Like he was still afraid to hope. What changed? I listened to your voicemails, both of you, and I realized that I'd rather have 1 year with you two than a lifetime with someone who makes me feel nothing. I'd rather risk my heart and have it broken than play it safe and be miserable. Another step. I don't care about the logistics anymore, Ifeoma continued, words tumbling out faster now. I don't care that you live in Korea and I live in Nigeria. I don't care that we've only known each other 2 weeks. I don't care that this is crazy and impossible, and everyone will think I've lost my mind. Another step. He was so close now, she could see the hope warring with fear in his eyes. I love you, she whispered. I love your daughter. I love the man you are with her and the man you are with me. I love our breakfast routines and our bedtime stories and the way you look at me like I'm precious. I tried to leave and it felt like dying because you're not temporary. You're not a 2-week arrangement. You're home. The last word broke on a sob. And I know it's too soon, and I know it's crazy, and I know I hurt you both so badly. But if there's any chance, any possibility that you still want me after everything I've done..." She didn't get to finish. Jae-sung closed the distance between them and kissed her. Right there in the middle of the airport terminal, with his daughter giggling between them and 100 strangers watching. He kissed her like she was air and he'd been drowning. Like she was home and he'd been lost. Like she was his second chance and he wasn't letting her go. When they finally broke apart, they were both crying. "I love you," he whispered against her lips. "From the moment you shared chin-chin with my daughter. From the moment you treated her like she mattered. I knew. I'm sorry I ran. I'm sorry I was a coward. You came back. That's all that matters." He cupped her face in his hands. "You came back." "Does this mean Ifeoma is staying?" Jujin's voice was muffled against Ifeoma's shoulder. "Forever and ever?" Ifeoma looked at Jae-sung. He looked back at her. "Forever," they said together. "And you'll be my Umma? My real Umma?" Ifeoma's throat closed up completely. She looked at Jae-sung, asking permission with her eyes. He nodded, smiling through his tears. "If you'll have me, sweetheart." Jujin pulled back and looked at her very seriously. "Do Ummas leave?" "Real Ummas? Never. They stay even when it's hard, even when they're scared. They stay because that's what love means. And you love us? More than anything in the world." Jujin seemed to think about this very carefully. Then she nodded, satisfied. "Okay, then you can be my Umma." And just like that, Ifeoma's broken heart became whole again. Somewhere behind them, someone started clapping. Then someone else joined in. And then the whole gate area erupted in applause, because everyone loves a good love story, especially the ones that almost didn't happen. 6 months later, Ifeoma stood in a small chapel in Seoul, wearing a simple white dress and flowers in her hair. Jujin was beside her in a purple flower girl dress, bouncing on her toes with excitement. "Are you nervous, Umma?" Ifeoma smiled. She'd never get tired of hearing that word. "A little. Don't be. Appa loves you so much. He smiles all the time now. Before you, he never smiled." "That's not true." "It is. Ask anyone." Jujin grabbed her hand. "I'm really glad you came back. I'm really glad you're my Umma now." "Me too, baby. Me too." The music started. They'd kept it small. Just family and close friends. Jae-sung's sister, who'd cried when she met Ifeoma. A few of his business associates, who looked completely shocked to see their boss so happy. Ifeoma's parents and siblings, who'd flown in from Nigeria, still not quite believing their daughter was marrying a Korean man she'd met on an airplane. But when Ifeoma walked down that aisle and saw Jae-sung waiting for her, nothing else mattered. He looked at her like she'd hung the moon, like she was his miracle, like she was home. They'd figured out the logistics. 6 months in Korea, 6 months in Nigeria. Jae-sung had expanded his business to West Africa, which gave him an excuse to split his time. Ifeoma was enrolled in an online nursing program that let her study from anywhere. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't easy, but it was theirs. The vows were simple: love, honor, cherish, in sickness and health, for better or worse. But when Jae-sung slipped the ring on her finger, he added his own words. "Thank you for coming back. Thank you for choosing us. Thank you for being brave enough to take a chance on this crazy, impossible love. Thank you for not giving up on me," Ifeoma whispered back, "even when I gave up on myself." "Never. I'll never give up on you, on us, on this family we're building." "You may kiss your bride," the officiant said with a knowing smile. And he did. While their daughter cheered and the small crowd applauded, and somewhere in the universe, fate smiled at bringing 3 broken hearts together and making them whole. 3 months after that, Ifeoma stood in the bathroom of their Abuja apartment, staring at a positive pregnancy test. She heard Jae-sung come home, heard him talking to Jujin in the living room. "Where's Umma?" "In the bathroom. She's been in there forever." Footsteps approaching, a gentle knock. "Ifeoma, are you okay?" She opened the door, test in hand, tears streaming down her face. Jae-sung's eyes went wide. "Is that? We're having a baby." His face transformed. Pure joy. Pure love. He picked her up and spun her around right there in the hallway. Appa! Umma! What's happening? Jujin came running. Jae-sung set Ifeoma down and knelt to his daughter's level. Jujin, how would you feel about being a big sister? The little girl's eyes went huge. Really? I'm getting a baby brother or sister. Really? Jujin screamed with delight and threw herself at both of them, wrapping her arms around as much of them as she could reach. This is the best day ever. I'm going to teach them everything. I'm going to show them how to color and how to braid and how to make pancakes shaped like stars. And I'm going to tell them about how Amma came on an airplane and saved us, and how Appa almost let her go, but she came back, and how we're the best family in the whole world. Ifeoma and Jae-sung looked at each other over their daughter's head, and no words were needed. This was their miracle. This beautiful, impossible, crazy miracle that started with Chin Chin on an airplane and a little girl who refused to let go. 1 year after that, the three of them stood in the Greenville-Spartanburg airport, the same airport where Jujin had thrown the tantrum that started everything, the same airport where Ifeoma had almost walked away, the same airport where she'd run back and chosen love over fear. Now they were traveling again, back to Korea for Jujin's school year, back and forth between two worlds, two cultures, two homes, but wherever they went together. Jujin held her baby brother in her arms, showing him the planes through the window and explaining everything in a mixture of Korean, English, and Igbo that made absolutely no sense but was perfect anyway. See, Minjun? That's the plane we're taking, and when we get to Korea, Grandma is going to make you special soup, and then we'll come back to Nigeria and Grandma Christopher will make you jollof rice. You're the luckiest baby because you get to have everything. Ifeoma leaned against Jae-sung's shoulder, watching their children, and felt peace settle over her like a blanket. Jujin? Jae-sung called. We're boarding soon. Are we going to Nigeria or Korea? Their daughter turned around and grinned, her baby brother gurgling happily in her arms. We're going home, Appa. We're always going home. Ifeoma smiled. Because Jujin was right. Home wasn't a country or a city or a house. Home was the four of them, together. Wherever they were, as long as they were together, they were home. They boarded the plane hand in hand, a family built on the impossible, a love story that started with a little girl who refused to let go, and a woman who learned that sometimes the scariest choice is the right one. Sometimes you have to risk everything to gain everything. Sometimes half-bread isn't better than none. Sometimes love is worth the leap. Always. The end in that is how a heartbroken woman and a Korean mafia boss found their forever. Comment a raised fist if you're crying right now because I am emotional. Did this story hit you in all the feels? Did Ifeoma make the right choice? Would you have been brave enough to run back to that airport? Share this video with someone who believes love can change people. Like this video if you believed in their love. Subscribe if you want more stories that will wreck you in the best way. And tell me in the comments, should I do more stories about Ifeoma and Jae-sung's life? Do you want to see them navigating marriage, raising their kids, building their cross-cultural empire? Let me know what you want to see next. Thank you for going on this journey with me. Thank you for believing in love even when it seems impossible. Until next time, remember, the best love stories are the ones where someone chooses to be brave. Drop a comment and let us know where you're watching from. We love hearing from you. See you soon.